House Resolution 682, the gentlewoman from South Carolina, Ms. Mace, and a member opposed. Each will control 5 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentlewoman from South Carolina.
Women have fought for decades to have equal opportunity in education and athletics. As the first woman to graduate from the Citadel, the Military College of South Carolina, no one understands that fight better than I do. Unfortunately, these hard-earned rights women have fought for are now literally under assault. Misogyny disguised as acceptance has forced mediocre male athletes into women's locker rooms, forcing women to undress in front of them, robbed women of opportunities, and left some women with lifelong scars. My amendment would prohibit the superintendents of the service academies from allowing a cadet or midshipman who is male to participate in an athletic program or activity that is designed for females. It is an indisputable fact there are significant physical, biological, I dare say science or scientific differences between men and women. Biological men generally have greater muscle mass, bone density, cardiovascular capacity, and physical strength than women do. This is very obvious. Allowing men to compete in women's sports is patently unfair and robs women and girls of accomplishments and opportunities. Over 900 medals in women's sports have been won by biological men, stolen from women who worked hard to earn them. Women have fought hard to earn records that have been shattered by mediocre men, men pretending to be women, mentally ill men pretending to be women. This is a travesty and discourages women from competing at all. This was the case last year when multiple college women's volleyball teams forfeited rather than face a team with a biological male athlete, rather than face a traumatic brain injury when the next man hit him in the face with a volleyball. There's nothing honorable about robbing women of opportunities, invading their privacy, and jeopardizing their safety in athletic competitions. Allowing biological men to participate in women's sports is incompatible with the values of our service members, our service academies, and basic notions of fairness and good old-fashioned common sense. I urge all members to support this amendment, and I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentlelady from South Carolina reserves the balance of time. For what purpose does the gentlelady from New Mexico seek recognition?
Mr. Chairman, I rise to claim time in opposition to the amendment.
The gentlelady is recognized for 5 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I rise in opposition today to this amendment and in defense of our nation's service members. Our ranking member and the chairman have negotiated a bipartisan NDAA, which invests in military pay raises, quality of life, and many important aspects for military readiness. We should be focused on that in the National Defense Authorization Act, not another amendment bullying trans people. And if you ever needed proof that trans folks live rent-free in the minds of my GOP colleagues, then look no further than this amendment, because there are literally no known and out transgender people serving in our academies right now because of the transgender military ban. So what is this amendment all about? The GOP obsession with bullying trans people is weird. It's invasive. It's abusive, it's discriminatory, and it's dangerous to our military readiness. I want to remind my colleagues that words have power. You are standing in one of the most powerful institutions, not only in the United States, but in the world. And my colleagues are using this platform to bully a population that is vulnerable here in the United States. And I have to say, if my colleagues across the aisle are so genuinely concerned about the well-being of women serving in the military and sexual violence, how about actually addressing that? And the 45% of women who have reported that they have been sexually harassed just last year alone, or dare I say, if you're concerned about sexual violence and deviance, that you release the Epstein files. How about that? But this amendment reflects a sustained, targeted villainization of the trans community and the LGBTQ+ community that continues day after day on this floor. The trans community represents only about 1% of the population as we understand it. But you wouldn't actually think that listening to this chamber, because they're spending time that we should be talking about military readiness and our national security to bully trans people at our service academies. This has nothing to do with service to this great nation or our national security. So I say to my colleagues, let's get back to work on behalf of the American people and defend this disgusting and hateful amendment. I reserve.
Gentlelady reserves. Gentlelady from South Carolina is recognized.
Mr. Chairman, how much time remains?
Gentlelady has 3 minutes remaining.
Thank you. Imagine being a woman on the floor of the House of Representatives screaming, I dare say screeching, into the microphone to put your daughter in danger, to have your daughter's scholarships, your daughter's skills, your daughter's opportunities stolen from her because some guy, some mentally ill, deranged, weird freak of a man thinks he's a woman, and because he can put on a skirt and wave his willy-nilly around in the locker room, that he somehow is equal to a woman and that he's going to take away her rights. We fought for so long for rights as women. We didn't get the right to vote until, 1919, 1920, and in fact, the state of South Carolina. We didn't elect our first Republican woman to the U.S. House of Representatives, to Congress, until 2020. I was sworn into office in January of 2021. We have fought hard. There are so many opportunities for women yet. We've never had a female president of the United States. I'm not going to let some guy in a skirt come around to take opportunities away from our daughters, from future leaders, a future president one day, because somebody's mentally ill and thinks they can steal those opportunities away from your daughter. It's not going to happen, not on my watch, and we can start with the service academies and protecting these women who are going to fight valiantly to serve and protect our freedoms of our country, here and abroad, to make sure that opportunities are not stolen from them, from the mentally ill. Thank you, and I reserve the balance of my time.
He reserves. Gentlelady from New Mexico is recognized.
I yield such time to the gentlelady as she may consume.
I recognize the gentlelady from Oregon is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Representative Stansbury, for yielding. I rise today in opposition to this amendment, which would ban transgender women from participating in women's sports, but also lead to challenges on all women's bodies, making the military and academies less safe for any women to enlist, no matter who they are. Military personnel already undergo in-depth medical exams, and this amendment would allow for women and trans people to be subjected to increased and invasive targeting and harassment. Athletic associations and the service academies, they're better prepared to understand the sport they regulate, how to provide both respect for transgender people and fairness in sports. These associations and academies should be addressing this issue, not politicians, especially politicians who do not understand that trans people are not men who put on skirts. Republicans have already banned trans people from the military and the service academies via executive action, so this amendment is just another backdoor attempt to discourage transgender people from enlisting in the future while making the military less safe for all women and embedding discrimination into the law. This amendment is a classic example of politicians trying to insert themselves where they don't belong, and I urge my colleagues to vote against this amendment, and I yield back.
Reserve.
Gentlelady yields back.
Reserve.
Gentlelady from New Mexico reserves. Gentlelady from South Carolina is recognized.
How much time remains?
1 minute remaining.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. I do want to address the topic of sexual violence, particularly with my female colleagues across the aisle. I have authored dozens of bills related to sexual violence, and very few of my Democrat colleagues will sign up and co-sponsor them in a bipartisan way. And why is that? Is because I don't want men and women's spaces? Probably. Because I say the word tranny? Yeah. They don't want to protect women, except for when it makes good on their narrative. And in fact, when I gave a harrowing speech for an hour on the floor of this House on February 10th, earlier this year, not a single female colleague across the aisle, as I talked about my personal experiences with sexual violence, not one of them spoke up in defense of women who are victims and survivors of sexual violence. I find it offensive, and I yield back. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Gentlelady's time has expired. Gentlelady from New Mexico is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just remind us that we're here to talk about the National Defense Authorization Act and to stand with our service members who proudly sign up to serve this great nation, and we will continue to stand with our service members. I yield back.
Gentlelady yields